Hello, I'm Paul Hinault for Simsbury Community Media, and you're watching Community Conversations. We have an exciting show for you today. Today's subject is the Simsbury Land Trust, which is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. This show will be a combination of studio and on-site visits to Simsbury Land Trust properties. But first, before we begin, let me give you a brief background and history of the Simsbury Land Trust. It was founded in 1975 as a vehicle for promoting the conservation and preservation of Simsbury's natural resources, collaborating with the town and eventually state and federal agencies. 7 enthusiastic volunteer residents met and established the Simsbury Land Conservation Trust in 1976. The first parcel obtained by the Simsbury Land Trust was 9.7 acres of land at the end of Tollgate. 50 years later, with the efforts of volunteers, 2 staff members, and hundreds of donors and members, the Land Trust has over 1,100 acres under ownership or protection. Joining me later in the show to explain more of the history, purpose, and future of the organization are my guests, who will be Amanda Thompson, Executive Director, Fred Feibel, Board of Trustee member and past president, and Bill Cox, Advisory Board member. Amanda Thompson grew up in northern Minnesota with many state forests and the Boundary Waters Canoe Area and Wilderness in her backyard. Moving to Connecticut as an adult, she started to volunteer for the local land trust. Amanda has spent the last 15 years on the board of the East Granby Land Trust. When not doing work for Land Trust and conservation, she also works for local Scout Troop 175, getting kids excited about camping and the outdoors. Fred Feibel is currently one of the longest-serving members of the Simsbury Land Trust Board. He is a local veterinarian who lives in West Simsbury with his wife Hannah and family. When he has free time, he is usually outdoors hiking, fishing, or gardening, and always with a couple of dogs at his side. Fred is also the past president of the Simsbury Land Trust, in addition to being a current board member. Bill Cox was a longtime member of the board of directors and is now on the advisory board. He is retired after a long career as an HR professional. He has also been on the board of directors for the Simsbury Historical Society and the McLean Game Refuge. He and his wife Marilyn have lived in Simsbury forever. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go and hit the trail. We're here at Tull Meadow Farm in West Simsbury, one of the major acquisitions of the Simsbury Land Trust. It was a great combination of both state, local, and federal governments working together with the Land Trust to acquire the land and preserve it for farming, woodland, and habitat life. Now, joining me are my guests, Amanda Thompson, who's the Executive Director, Bill Cox. Bill Cox, I know. I know, long time, who's on the advisory board, and Fred Feibel, who is on the board of directors and also a past president. So, Amanda, I'm going to start with you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what makes the Simsbury Land Trust so unique and so special?
Well, I think the thing that makes the Simsbury Land Trust so unique and so special is that a group of people came together 50 years this year and had the foresight to realize that open space needed to be preserved. They started with more forest land and wetlands and then moved on to farmland. And the whole reason we drive around town today and we see all of these beautiful open spaces are because of thoughtful residents taking the time to do that.
Yeah, that's great. And Bill, you've been on the board for forever. You were here just about near the founding of it.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and about the founding of the organization?
Yeah, you can tell by my vintage hat. I've been
I
around
like that.
a while.
I like that
right?
hat. That's a great hat.
Well, you know, I moved into, well, I've been in town for a long time, but I didn't even know about the land trust, which I think was part of the issues. So
Right. Not a lot of people did.
Yeah, and you know,
Yeah.
a lot of us traveled. So a good friend, Martha Austin, who's since passed away, you know, gave me a call and said, "Why don't you come to a meeting?" And I came to the meeting and quickly realized that, you know, we need money, we need members, we need to get known, and it was a lot of fun trying to put that together.
Yeah, yeah, great,
Yep.
great. And Fred, tell us a little bit about the organization, some of the major acquisitions that you were involved in, along with some of the challenges that occurred during that time.
Sure. I came onto the board in the early 90s because of Bill. And and at that point, it's an evolutionary thing. The land trust was growing and growing and earning recognition, earning credibility. We've showed that we could put some deals together, get some people, some finance, and get some major properties. And then what happened was that it was fortuitous because we brought in Dick Davis, who is, as all of us who know Dick know, he's not only a visionary guy, he's also a guy who gets work done. Yeah. And he had a lot of connections and he worked really hard. And we were able to benefit from the fact that back then was a time where there were a lot of grants available, both from federal, state, and even local. And Dick put together some big donors. And at the same time, because of our credibility, we were able to get small folks like us around town to kick in and get involved. So we were put together what they called at the time the Campaign for Simsbury, which was a 10-year program to get 1,000 more acres. It wound up being a 12-year program, but I consider that really good.
Right.
And during that, we preserved the three largest farms in Simsbury, Tall Meadow in multiple parts being the second of them after Rosedale, and then later on, right at the end, the Hall Farm.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, well, why don't we take a little walk? We'll walk along one of the paths here, and we'll ask some more questions. Amanda, while we're walking, why don't you tell us a little bit about the 50th anniversary celebration?
So since it's our 50th anniversary, we're doing a special dinner at Rosedale Farm, and that will be June 4th. And it will be out in the farm under the tents, and we're really excited for people to come. We have Marshall Epstein, who is the owner of Rosedale Farm, speaking at the dinner and telling us a little bit about what it takes to farm in 2026.
Oh, and that'll be awesome.
Yeah, that'll be really great. Another thing that we're doing, if you notice, Fred and Paul both have on their Simsbury Land Trust hats. We made some hats with the old Simsbury Land Trust logo on them, and we are giving those away if people complete our 12 hike challenge. So if people get out onto the properties and they visit them, they can fill out there's a form on our website to say what 12 properties you went and hiked. We will send you one of those throwback hats.
So Fred, tell us a little bit about the stewardship and what it takes to maintain the 1,100 acres that the land trust has.
Sure. Most of our stewardship is done by volunteers. We have Tom Crawford, who's our director of stewardship. As far as the trails go, we have an extensive trail system. We even have a set of trails you can hike 5 miles on continuously. But it takes a lot of volunteers who put up bridges and clear the trails, and our trails are very well marked. And combined with that, we also have a lot of trails in town that we don't personally own, but are also in our walk book, which is useful. But there's a big volunteer effort. Some of our stewardship, it requires, large trees and things like that require professional help, which means we need donations to bring pros in. But it's very well organized, and it has been for a long time.
Yeah, and a lot of those donations are funded by the members, by the membership.
Yes, those donations are almost purely membership donations. We have a budget every year for stewardship, and our Dick Davis endowment also kicks some money into the fund for for stewardship, but it's really the major job we're doing right now these
Yeah.
days.
Excellent work. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Fred.
Sure.
So, Bill, talk a little bit about the early days of the land trust and some of the challenges in not only acquiring funding, but also getting people to be willing to sell their property or donate their property or do development rights, whatever we were able to do.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Excellent question. The early days.
Yeah.
What was interesting, as we talked about, and Fred talked about, and Amanda talked about, that we had 250 members and I think $2,500.
Yeah.
You really can't get a lot done with that, and we weren't well known in the town. It was kind of a small group of people that enjoyed hiking.
Yeah.
So when and I give a lot of this credit to Dick, and of course carried on by everybody else.
Right.
But we, got a banner. We participated. Remember the old September Fest?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we got our name out there.
Yeah.
I went to the Dexter Corporation where I used to work, and they paid for a walk book.
Oh, really?
Hundreds of them.
Yeah.
And because we had the talent to make the walk book in black and white.
Yeah.
But then we put them in the local libraries. We got in the Wall Street Journal. We got on TV a couple of times. We talked to the schools. We were going after some young people, and the membership went up. And then we had some key donors, and it made a big difference.
Yeah. And I know Chuck Howard went after federal grants and spent a lot of time with that. And Rob Hegney did a lot of legal work as well.
See, you don't even need to interview me. You know all that.
I know. Well, I've been there a long time.
Are you warm enough, by the way? I got
fine.
a coat on.
I'm fine.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, great.
Yep.
Thanks, Bill.
Sure.
Amanda, why don't you talk a little bit about the Youth Conservation Corps? I think that's very exciting for the Simsbury Land Trust.
The Youth Conservation Corps is a group of students from the Simsbury High School who have they've become involved with the Land Trust. They come to our board meetings and they have their own meetings to talk about ways to engage youth in conservation. So they have done some programs with younger children, like scavenger hunts. They've done a decomposer program at the library. They've also done programs like we have done 2 years in a row trout release at Stratton Brook Park.
Yep.
And we get young children, but also high schoolers walk over. We plan it so it's right after school so they can walk right over from the high school to Stratton Brook Park and participate. They also hold hikes. They do invasive work. So they try to make sure they do a variety of programs, and then they take the time to publicize those. They have an Instagram page, and then they also post it around the Simsbury High School. So the whole goal is just to engage more students in the outdoors, maybe some students who have never done it before, but maybe they would because their friends are there, or students who are interested but maybe didn't know how they could get involved and how they can make an impact on their local community.
Wow, that's great. That's very exciting for the Land Trust and for them as well.
It is. It's fantastic. And just so I mention, one of our youth corps members had gone through our properties and found a specific property that he could see us adding an additional trail. And so now he is helping us work with Canton Land Trust in order to create a trail from Onion Mountain to Roaring Brook Nature Center in Canton. So we're creating connectivity not just within, like, with the students and the adults, it's also across town borders with the Canton Land Trust, with Canton students, in order to create a connective trail across our borders, which is
That's
great.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So, Fred, while we're walking, why don't you tell us a little bit about the vision for the future of the Land Trust?
Sure, it's a multifaceted approach. We're still interested in raising funds because even though we don't have any major purchases on the near future, we are always looking for a property that comes available. So funding is important. We're spending a lot of time now improving the ecosystems within our properties, and that includes a lot of volunteer work, removing invasives and planting native plants to replace them. Also, major movement within Land Trust these days is to put regional groups together, not necessarily losing your own independence, but putting together groups that can share resources, ideas, funding, at a larger level, county or whatever level, and the Land Conservation Council in Connecticut is a big part of that. So those are the things that we're looking at in the future, certainly continuing our education and youth programs and those kind of things.
Oh, that's good. And I know, Amanda, he mentioned regional cooperation. You're also involved in the East Granby Land Trust and Trap Rock. Those are very important organizations as well.
Yeah, I work with Trap Rock Ridge Land Conservancy, which is East Granby, Bloomfield, Windsor, and West Hartford, and they are a regional land trust. As far as Simsbury is concerned, we have I think it's a huge part of our identity and who we are, but that doesn't mean we can't work with other land trusts in the region. So Simsbury Land Trust has been working with the other Farmington Valley Land Trusts just to talk about connectivity. How can we connect the different important features that are along the Farmington Valley? So our ridge lines, the Farmington River, which is a federally designated wild and scenic river, all of those pieces are really important to every town that's in the Farmington Valley. So it's important that we work together in order to create the connectivity for wildlife as well as for trails to connect the people too.
Absolutely. Good, good. All right. So my friend Bill here is going to tell a story from the early days. I think it's known as the Condor story, but I'll let him tell that. So Bill, go ahead. Tell us the Condor story.
In the early days, we had actually it was a very successful event. We invited a condor and its trainer to the Apple Barn. We all love the Apple Barn.
Yeah.
Beautiful views there. This thing had a wingspan of a 747. A beautiful bird, and the trainer let him loose, not on a leash of any kind, and he ran into the field, and one of the little toddlers ran after the condor.
I can see it.
And the POD was all looking at each other and saying, oh, this could not go well.
Yeah.
And of course, it did.
It did.
And we were very safety conscious and always have been.
Right, and everybody got a big kick out of it.
And they did. They really did.
Especially the parents of the child.
Oh, yeah.
They were very thankful.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
thanks,
sure.
Bill. That's
Many
great.
more stories, I'm sure.
Okay, that's great. So now we're back at the trailhead, and we've talked about the 50th anniversary of the Land Trust. We've also talked about Dick Davis, who was very instrumental in the major acquisitions. Bill and Fred have given us a lot of information about some of the background. And I'm going to ask Amanda a little bit about what happened last week. We had some pretty good activity last week. And Amanda, why don't you tell us about that?
Last week, we had a special event. Diana Moody, who's one of our board members, did an amazing job planning a tree planting in front of the Simsbury Library. So there's a white oak. If you go downtown, you'll see it has water bags on it in order to water it to make sure it stays alive. But she coordinated with the town and with the library in order to have a white oak in front of the library. And Bartlett Tree Services donated the tree, which was very kind of them to do. And that, hopefully, we'll see that standing when we do our 100th anniversary.
Oh, that's great. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be there. But
I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, that's great. That's
All the
great.
new hat.
All right. All right. Okay, so I want to just thank our guests for being with us today, even though it wasn't the nicest day, but we were here. And the Simsbury Land Trust is an amazing organization. It's helped make Simsbury what Simsbury is. And I also want to say to our viewers, if you like this program, remember, Simsbury Community Media is a nonprofit public access station. We rely on your donations in order to survive. If you've liked this program, I hope you will please consider donating today. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
For over 40 years, SCM has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education, and live broadcasts.
SEM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
Ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings,
and celebrating milestones.
like our high school graduations.
But today, SEM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions.
And it's no secret, People have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SEM receives less revenue.
Even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth,
and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SEM, I've been honing my creative skills, helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
for generations to come.
Visit our website
Or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media,
where your town,
Your schools,
And your government
come together.